talking about Israel's war with Hamas this morning. A number of people struggle to understand this, and unless you're taught about it or you study it out yourself, you don't get it. So we want to talk about this, and here's the things I want to cover, and I still do not have control of it. It's up on my, there we go. Hopefully it kicks in. Let me do something, because this happened last time, and I want to make sure, because I want to move the slides at a specific time. So let it reset and see if that helps. Modern technology. There. Now I've got control. Yes. All right. Cool. So this is what we want to talk about this morning. What's this war all about? Why is there always war in the Middle East? It just seems like it never goes away. What's the talk about Ezekiel 38? If you've been paying attention, people always, as soon as things start getting serious in Israel, Ezekiel 38 comes up. Well, what's that about? And here's one, I never heard this perspective before, and I want you to hear it so you can figure it out. Is the Antichrist Islam's descendant, Islam's Messiah? Never heard that perspective before, but I'm going to let you hear it before we're done here this morning. So let's start with the first one. What is this all about? Briefly, it's who gets to control the land of Israel. That's what it's all about. That's number one. There's a second point, but that's point number one. Who gets to control the land? Well, where is the land? There's a world map. Now, I don't know if you can zoom on that or not. If you can't, that's fine. You can see the North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Australia. Between Africa and Europe, there's the Mediterranean Sea. On the east edge of the Mediterranean Sea, there is a tiny strip of land about the size of New Jersey. That is what everything is always about. Who gets to control that strip of land? Here is another map that, trying, if we could zoom, I could show it to you. But it's just a speck compared to the rest of what the world looks like. This is just a speck. So what in the world, why is that so important? Which takes us to the next question. Who is fighting over the land and wanting to live there? Well, right now, Israel, the descendants of Abraham, have been given the land, and Palestinians, the descendants of Abraham, want the land. And many times people don't understand the Palestinians, most of what we refer to as Arabs, Abraham, that is Abraham's descendants. So you got to keep that in mind, because that opens up as we go on there. So what is it all about? Well, number one is who gets control of the land, and number two is a false religion has crept in, Islam, and in the Quran, it calls for the annihilation of Israel, all the pigs, which that's us, Christians, so congratulations. In their mind, you're all pigs. Everybody has to be destroyed, because if the followers of Islam, if the Muslims will do this, they believe that opens the door for their Antichrist. So they need to be in process of doing this. So their Messiah, I said that wrong. So that their Messiah can come. That Muslim Messiah can come, which now I've got a little different perspective of, that could be the Antichrist. Since Israel became a nation in 1948, my question is this: why do the Palestinians have to live there? I mean, why can't they just live someplace else? Because they consider what Abraham was given by God, that land of Israel, promised land, they consider it as much theirs as it was Isaac's. Because Abraham had two boys, Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael is the father of the nation that we refer to as the Arabs. And Isaac was the father of Israel, or the Jews. And they both consider it their land, and they both consider it holy. That's why they have the mosque on the Temple Mount, covering the rock where supposedly Abraham was going to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. That's a holy thing to them. So they claim co-ownership with this, but because the Quran came in and said through Muhammad, you just need to kill off of all of Isaac's offspring, they're always trying to kill them off because that's what their Bible is telling them to do. So to really understand this, because we're going to end up at the Antichrist, so I'm starting back a little further than I'd have to. We'll go fast, but to really understand this, we need to look at some history here. So let's start with Noah. And I'll read quick, try to follow along with me. Now it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful and took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. Sons of God, fallen angels. Just make that connection in your head. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. The reason God limited the lifetime of a human being to 120 years had to do with fallen angels and women producing offspring. Yep, so kind of keep that in mind. In those days, there were giants on the earth, and also afterward, it didn't end with the flood, also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Why did that happen? Because now man had become a hybrid. The fallen angel realm had intermixed with the human realm, and their offspring was nasty. The thoughts of their heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man, and it ended up with this, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created, from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, birds from the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man. Notice what it says. Perfect in his generations. Noah was not infected with fallen angel DNA. He still was pure human, which was very necessary. Noah's in the lineage of Jesus, by the way, which was very necessary because we needed Jesus to be a man, not a hybrid. Okay? So we had to do something here because the whole earth had corrupted itself, and he specifically points out Noah was still okay in his generations or in his genes, in his DNA. Noah walked with God. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So the Lord looked upon the earth. Indeed, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. So Noah's the last hope. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with. So the main problem we're looking at here with Noah was what we refer to now as the Nephilim. The human race had intermingled or interbred with fallen angels, and we had hybrids now, which was going to stop the Messiah, who needed to be a man, from coming if it got into all of the human race. I bring that up because we're going to go to the Antichrist, and this ties together, and it's just, we don't have time to sit here, but we're going to just bring it up so you remember it. This problem resurfaces in our day. The problem of fallen angels intermingling with human beings. Now, I don't believe they're going to do it the same and take the same approach, But as in the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. And people say, what's wrong with that? Nothing, unless you're marrying fallen angels and you're producing hybrids. And remember, he said the whole earth, Noah was still perfect in his lineage, his generations, but the whole earth otherwise was corrupted. What he's referring to there is, as it was in the days before the flood, there was hybrids being produced. That's what he's talking about, eating, drinking, and marrying, giving in marriage. Until the day Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man. Like I said, it's going to look different now. However, this, in my opinion, is already happening. If you do any research in the realm of aliens, this stuff comes up all over the charts. They're looking different, though. Their approach is different. But it's not by mistake that we have all these movies about out-of-world beings, Thor, coming to help us. It's not by mistake that the History Channel has been talking about ancient aliens for years now. And how that the Anunnaki, which were a race off Earth, came and saved the earth, and it's prophesied that they are going to return, and this is all being preached in the History Channel. So people are waiting for aliens to return. They're getting us conditioned to it. Well, they're going to return. It's going to look a little different. From my perspective, I think they're already here. It's not by surprise or by accident that the government all of a sudden acknowledged, yes, there are aliens that have visited Earth, and yes, we have had contact with them, and yes, the little grays do exist, and they acknowledge it all now. Why now? Well, it's all part of where this thing is going. Okay? So in the end, we're dealing with the Antichrist. We're dealing with hybrids also. It plays into the picture, and I just wanted you to see that. So let's move on. So Noah gets out of the boat. He plants a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. So now this is new. Scientists tell us before the flood and the collapse of the canopy that was around the earth, radiation could not get through as it does now. The atmosphere, everything was different. The atmosphere, they claim, was 3 times heavier than it is now, which that's the hyperbaric chambers. If you get sick, you get in a hyperbaric chamber. They turn up the oxygen. They will pump up the pressure in there because the body is designed to heal very quickly in those conditions. So that's what it was like. The flood came. Before the flood, things did not decay or ferment. That's what science is telling us. Before the flood, there was no decay or fermentation. So no, you will not see wine or alcohol in heaven. When we go to heaven, we're going to tie them on. It ain't going to be there because it's produced from death. Fermentation is death. Just saying. Okay? So anyway, Noah did what he always did. Planted a vineyard, got the juice going, drank the juice, let it set out on the table for a couple of days, drank it again, and woohoo! We're drunk. Which I bet he was as surprised as anybody else. And Ham, the father of Canaan, so now he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham, the father of Canaan, who was Noah's grandson, Ham saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, backed in, covered Noah. Their faces were turned away. They did not see the nakedness. So Noah woke up from his wine. He finally came back to, and knew what his younger son had done to him. Now, the way that's worded is key. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren," which is really odd to me. because your son did something you don't like, so you curse the grandson. That's odd. I mean, did he not like the kid from the beginning, and here's his opportunity? I don't think so. I think it's speaking of something else. I think when he cursed the grandson, he's cursing the lineage of Ham, even though Canaan was the youngest of 4 brothers. But when Ham did the offense, so the lineage is going to carry the consequence for the offense. And I'll explain a little bit more to you on that, why I think that. Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, that was the other brother, and may Canaan be his servant. And verse 27, may God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, so they're going to get along, and may Canaan be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, so all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So Noah got drunk. The fermentation thing had taken place. Now I want you to notice something, because the church is big into drinking now, and it's increasing. This is the first time alcohol appeared on the face of the earth. And the first time it showed up, it started to kill, steal, and destroy. Right from the beginning, alcohol destroyed an entire lineage. So just kind of keep that in mind. I don't know how we can believe God's okay with this. But anyway, in his drunkenness, Noah says he ended up, the scripture says Noah ended up laying there naked, and Ham, the middle son, saw this, and that was the source of the problem. I think there's more to the story. It doesn't make sense that he peeked in the tent and he saw his dad naked, and now the entire lineage is cursed because of that. So there's numerous explanations online. Here's one from the Catholic Exchange, and that's the link to it if you want to go read the whole thing. But in a nutshell, it means to see the father's nakedness is to uncover a father's nakedness means to have sex with the mother. And they tie that back to Leviticus 20, verse 17. I don't know if that's right or not. Now, you do some other research, they're going to bring up that to see his nakedness means that Ham sodomized Noah while Noah was passed out. And they say that's what it's trying to say, and they give their reasons why and so forth. Whatever it means, I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. But the result of it was Ham's lineage were cursed to be servants, slaves to Japheth and Shem. Well, who are Japheth and Shem? They're the beginning of the rest of the population of the world. So in other words, Noah cursed that lineage to be slaves to the rest of the world. Now, don't get your undies in a bundle here. Through Jesus, that lineage has been set free. There's neither bond nor free, slave or free is how some translations read it. Jesus came to make everybody free. So if we get in under Jesus and what he wants, that curse no longer applies to those people. Okay? So just so you know, because in about a minute here, I'm going to make an application and you're going to tell me, well, Black Lives Matter too. I am not against black people, okay? I am showing you history, okay? This is what happened. You say, so how does that apply? Well, here's where they went. You've got Israel. You can read Mediterranean Sea there. You go to the right. There's Israel, right under the blue line. They believe Shem went east, Ham went into Africa, and Japheth went north and west. Some maps produce the thought that Japheth went more east also. But you've got Ham down here in Africa. You've got Shem in the Middle East, the Arabian states, Pakistan, that whole works. They filled that. And Japheth went north, especially went into the European area. So if we come from that area, we're likely descendants of Japheth. Now, let's make the application. Ham went into Africa. Now, I know that they've had all kinds of slaves over the years, including white people. However, when we think of slaves, who do we think of? Africans. There's why. It goes back to Noah and what Ham did, and Noah cursing the lineage of Ham and said, you're going to be slaves for this. So with that history in mind, let's just jump forward a bit. This happened around 3000 BC is when Noah was born. The flood happened around 2350, so about 2300 BC approximately. This probably, was before then. In that realm, this took place. And that set the stage for the repopulation of the earth, which brings us to Abraham, which was born about 2000 BC. Abraham is in the lineage of Jesus. It all follows through. Abraham is the physical father, the bio ancestor of the Israelite people. He is also the bio ancestor of the Arab people, or the Muslims, most, not all, but most of the Muslims in the Middle East. And in the New Testament, he becomes the spiritual father of all of us because he believed God, his faith, it was counted to him as righteousness, and he made the covenant to be able to get us included. He started that covenant with God, and Jesus became the seed that was promised to Eve, came through Abraham's covenant. God now had a right to interfere and get involved in the human race because Adam and Eve gave that right away. Abraham gave it back through the covenant. We get over here with Jesus. Jesus is the seed. He's the Messiah. So Abraham becomes our spiritual father, and Paul talks about that over and over in the New Testament. So now let's talk about Abraham a little bit. He needs an offspring. He needs a son. He's been promised that there's going to be great nations that are going to come out of him. And Sarah can't get pregnant. And we know it was Sarah's fault because Hagar got pregnant. So something was broken with Sarah. And Hagar came on the scene, which Hagar was Sarah's servant. Hagar was an Egyptian. She came from Africa. See, so this thing is still going on, the curse of Noah. So let's read a little bit here. We're in the middle of this. Hagar is being abused by Sarah because Sarah thought it was a great idea for Hagar to produce offspring for Abraham until the kids showed up. And then Sarah flipped, and the dysfunction of the family showed up. And it turned really ugly. So Sarah kind of got rid of Hagar, and Hagar ran for her life. So she's out in the wilderness here, and this is where we're starting. He, angel of the Lord, said to Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai. She was still Sarai at that point, not Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress, submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel, and of course in Hagar's mind, she's going, why would I do that? Well, then the angel of the Lord said to her, here's why. I will multiply your descendants exceedingly so that they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are with child. So she hadn't had a son yet, and it was already turning ugly. You will bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren, which is kind of an interesting phrase, the end there. The Young's literal translation says, he will dwell before the face of all his brethren, which means we're watching you. Well, why would they want to keep their eye on him? Because he's a jerk. He's a wild man. His hand is against everybody, so you got to defend yourself because he's going to come at you. You got to defend yourself, and your hand's going to be against him. The Amplified says he will live to the east on the borders of his kinsmen. The NIV says he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. So Ishmael, Abraham's first son through Hagar, was a problem child. Why was he a problem child? I don't know. He experienced extreme rejection with his mother, and we know that never produces good fruit. His mother was of Ham's lineage. Did that curse have anything to do with it? I don't know. I'd say pretty confidently, somehow a generational demon got in here and messed things up. But he was going to be the father of a new nation, a large nation, and he was a jerk. And he absolutely carried a chip on his shoulder with Isaac. Because, see, Isaac was the little brother who stole everything from him. And in Genesis 21, 9 through 11, it says he mocked Isaac, and that's why they got kicked out the second time, is because the older brother was treating the little brother so badly that Abraham finally got rid of her. Said, just go live with your people, get out of here. This is not working. Now, the whole Hagar thing, I want you to understand something. I'm going fast. Got to go faster. Time's running. We're going to be done before 1 o'clock today. The whole Hagar thing came about because of unbelief. Neither Sarah nor Abraham could wrap their head around this. And as a result, Hagar came in. She was an Egyptian maidservant. Genesis 16 says that. She was of Ham's lineage because he moved that direction. And she helped create Ishmael, which was a really bad idea on Sarah's part. And God flat out declared Ishmael was not going to be the heir. So let's move on. Genesis 17. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abraham and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make a covenant between me and you and will multiply you exceedingly. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings come from you, and I will establish my covenant. And he goes on and says, it's going to be with you and your descendants. Also, I give to you and your descendants after you the land. What land? The land when he came from the Ur of the Chaldees, and God had him walk through, and he said, as far as you can see, this is yours, which was that little strip of land that we now know as Israel. It's going to be yours as an everlasting possession, and I will be your lineage's God. And then God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah, which was the covenant change. Don't take the time to explain that. Abraham had the same thing happen. Got a new name, named after God. God put part of his name in hers. And I will bless her and also give you a son by her. And I will bless her, and she will be the mother of nations. Kings will come from her. Now here the unbelief comes in. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed. Shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old and Sarah who's 90 years old? She's going to bear a child? Hear the unbelief in that one? It's like, yeah, right. It's a good joke. And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. Let Ishmael be the one who the covenant goes down through and becomes the lineage of Christ and so forth. And God flat out said, no. Sarah, your wife, is going to give you a son. You'll call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant. I'm not doing it with Ishmael. I'm doing it with him and his descendants after him. As for Ishmael, however, I've heard you. So evidently, Abraham had war going on in his household, and he was going to God about it. And he didn't want to necessarily kick Ishmael out and Hagar because the kid could die and what's going to happen. And God says, I've heard you. Behold, I blessed him, and I will make him fruitful and multiply him exceedingly. He will have a lineage of 12 princes, and I will make a great nation out of him. But my covenant is going to be with Isaac. So get it right. It's going to be with Isaac, and Sarah's going to give you a son about this time next year. So who was God's choice for covenant? Isaac. And who did he flat out say, I give the land to? Isaac. Ishmael is going to be a nation because Abraham interceded on his behalf, and Abraham carried the blessing. But Isaac gets the land and the covenant, and they're the one in the lineage of the Messiah. Okay? What do we have going on now? The relatives of two half-brothers fighting. That's what we got going on. Had the whole thing with Hagar never happened, we wouldn't have this mess. So the world today is being affected by a bad choice that Abraham and Sarah made. And we've got the Arab nation who later got deceived into Islam through Muhammad and the Muslim thing. And we've got Isaac, who was chosen to be the lineage that the Messiah would come through. Abraham, Sarah through Isaac brings the Messiah. They get the land, they get the promises. Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael, this is new to me here now. I put it in though. Bringing the Antichrist. Didn't get the land, didn't get the promises. So who was Hagar? Hagar, I just repeat it there. It's for you. I said it already. That's who Hagar was, came out of Egypt. Where did Abraham come from? He came out of Shem's territory. He's in the lineage of Shem. And this is his route, just about straight east of Jericho. Over in the other side of the Arabian desert, you've got Ur. That's Ur of the Chaldees. That's where Abraham came from. And he didn't cut straight across the desert. He came up and around to the land of Israel, which is on the left side there, that strip of land. And that's what God gave to him. It's not very big, but you need a place to bring the Messiah in through. That's why Jesus was born in Bethlehem, in that land. Because see, that land was all focused on the Messiah and getting him here. What lineage was Abraham from? We'll make a picture where he came from over there on the right side of the screen. What lineage? That is Shem's territory. And if you read the scripture, yes, Abraham was in the lineage of Shem. The land was given to him and passed on to Isaac. The land was called Canaan. And it was promised to him and Isaac. That's why it's called the promised land. Because God promised it to him. He said, if you do what I tell you to do, it's going to be yours. There is the picture of Israel. Now notice, and it's really small. Like I said, it's about the size of New Jersey. On the left-hand side here, that little piece that says Gaza, that's the war zone right now. Because that's where the missiles came out of, and that's where Hamas is located, and that's where they're trying to take over the entire country from. The West Bank, the darker tan, and Golan Heights Israel is supposed to own the whole thing. Well, they do, but they don't control it the way they want to. Everything that's under light tan and dark tan is considered Abraham's land and was given to Isaac and his offspring. The darker tan, West Bank, Golan Heights, and Gaza, is a result of government interference trying to get these people to quit fighting. So they're giving the Palestinians a place to live. West Bank, Golan Heights, Gaza. Here's where the Palestinians live. And Israel has no right to kick them out. Can't get rid of them. What's the problem? Both of them trace their ancestry back to Abraham, hence they both think the inheritance is theirs. So now who are the Arabs? If you read this, and I'll just have it up there long enough you can check it later because I'm running out of time. If you read this, it talks about the Arabs being descendants of Ishmael. Not all of them, not 100%, but the bulk of them. And it goes on, and that came out of godquestions.org. So it explains that. So who are the Arabs? The Arabs are the majority of Ishmael's descendants. They're almost 500 million strong right now. The argument is the Palestinians, who are also Arab, the Palestinians have no place to live. And that's their rightful territory as much as Israel's, so they should have it, which is okay, so that let's live in it together, except for the fact the Quran says their job is to kill the Israelites. So living together is hard. I mean, it's like at any night you could wake up and there they stand. They want to kill you because that's what they believe their Bible's telling them to do. So the Palestinians need a place to live, and Israel's going, well, you ain't going to live here because you're going to kill me. And they openly admit it. I mean, they say it. They don't hide this. They say it. They openly admit it. And then you can read it right out of the Quran where they're told to do it. So who are the Palestinians? I just put that up there. Again, we won't read the whole thing. They are, in second line, an Arab ethno-national group descending, now notice how they word this, descending from people who have inhabited the region of Palestine there for over 1,000 years. almost making it seem like, well, see, they should have the land because they've lived there for 1,000 years. Well, woohoo, so have Isaac's kids.
Yeah.
They've lived there as long. So, Wikipedia, get over it. But they're not a nation. They're an ethnic group. They're a subgroup of the Arab world who wants to get the land away from the Israelites and wants to kill the Israelites. They're very radical. They want them dead. Now, this is kind of interesting. So there is the conglomerate. That's not all of the world that is Muslim, but there's the conglomerate of the Arab world. You see Lebanon up at the top side. It's written in the Mediterranean Sea, and then Jordan to the right. That little strip of land there is Israel. All the rest of the tan land is the Arab kind of conglomerate. If Islam is not the stated religion of the country, they're the majority. Most of them, it's stated, they are, like we say we're a Christian nation, they say we're an Islam nation. It's the stated majority. And so there is the Muslim world, the Arab world, there is Israel, that little piece of land. They say Palestine, that ethnic group of people, I don't know how many they number, I don't know what they claim, but evidently they think they can all fit in that little piece of land, Israel. So they want it. My question is this: do you think maybe there's enough room someplace else for you to live? Yeah, but that's not good enough, because this was great-great-great-great-great-grandpa's land, and we want it. So the whole thing of, well, the Palestinians are just a wandering tribe. Go live with the rest of your people. There's lots of land. They believe like you. They think like you. Oh, no. They want their inheritance, which takes us to this. What is World War III? Ezekiel 38. I can't go into this because it would take way too long. Here's the players who are going to be involved, and I put it up there so you can go back to it later in the PowerPoint and look at it. It's available online. And I'll just throw this in. Kudos to Kevin. He's not even around. He's in Colorado. And I shot this stuff out to Eric and Kevin. I said, I need this, that, and the other. And I thought, well, he'll take care of it when he comes back. I checked this morning. He's got all this stuff up with the message already. So he did it from out there. So kudos to Kevin. So here's the players of Ezekiel 38, 39, which that war, to our knowledge, has not taken place yet. There's another map showing it. You go online and Google it, all kinds of stuff come up. They're all gonna come and gather at Israel for one purpose: get rid of Israel and give their land away.
Big mistake.
They want to kill them. They want to get rid of them. Here's a couple other things that are online. Download them, read them. It talks about the three great wars that are coming. One is Ezekiel 38 war, then the Battle of Armageddon, which is at the end of the tribulation time, and then Gog and Magog, which is after the millennium, and it's the last uprising against God, and gives a bunch of details on that. And then this handout talks about World War III, or Ezekiel 38, and describes it and where it will be fought and so forth. And yes, they're after the same thing. Much of the world's trouble for hundreds of years can be traced back to these two brothers and their offspring. And it's interesting, it's never, from my perspective, it's never Isaac's lineage who is attacking Ishmael's lineage first. Have you ever paid attention to that? It's Ishmael's lineage attacking them and throwing in bombs and missiles, and then they have to defend themselves. But remember, the beginning of their lineage started with a man who was a donkey of a man. He was against everybody. He had a chip on his shoulder. I think they still carry that chip. Just saying. But everything traces back to them. So we get into the book of Revelation, which is the revelation of Jesus Christ. Well, why is that important? Because he's the Messiah to everybody, including Isaac's lineage, including Ishmael's lineage. He's the Messiah. So now there's one prophet I listen to some. I've kind of dismissed the rest because they miss it so bad. It's like, why am I wasting my time listening to you? This guy seems to be fairly accurate so far. He hits things pretty good. He was explaining what's coming, and we've got a couple of really short video clips. It's about 8 minutes total, 2 different clips, where he introduces a thought here that I want you to hear. So let's jump to him and let's play those video clips and see what he's got to say.
I want to tell you something. So fascinating, by the way. Christians are waiting for the return of Christ. Jews are waiting for the coming of Messiah. Muslims are waiting for the coming of Al-Mahdi. Christians are waiting for the coming of the return of Christ. Jews are waiting for the coming of the Messiah. Muslims are waiting for the return of the 12th Imam called the Al-Mahdi. This is what many Christians don't know. Christians are waiting for the return of Christ, the Messiah. Jews are waiting for their Messiah, who most Jews are, unless you're a Messianic Jew like Sid Roth and others, Jonathan Kahn, who believes in Christ, most of Israel is a secular state. It's not even religious. And so many of them, the Orthodox Jews, are wailing at that wall because they believe that Jesus is going to come through that place. So they're praying every day, Jesus, or their Messiah. They don't call him Jesus. In Israel right now, there are many who actually believe the Messiah has come. The Messiah who we call Jesus, they believe he's already come. The Muslims are waiting for the Al-Mahdi. The Al-Mahdi is their Messiah. He's their last Imam. And Muhammad was quoted as saying, his name will be my name, and his father's name, my father's name. In other words, Muhammad believed that the last Imam that's going to come into the earth and do all these amazing things, their Messiah, is going to be called Muhammad. That's what they believe. Next slide, please. Salama, his wife, Muhammad married a young girl. We're not going there today. When the Mahdi appears, Allah will cause such power of vision and hearing to be manifested in believers that the Mahdi will call to the whole world from where he is with no postman involved, and they will hear and even see him. Next slide, please. And he had power, Revelation 13, verse 15, to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Next slide, please. Let's look at this. Abu Sa'id is quoted as saying, the messenger of Allah, he's one of us. Next slide, please. The messenger of Allah said, the Mahdi is of my lineage. Next slide, please. No, stay there. Go back. Look at this. So look at this. The Mahdi is of my lineage with a high forehead and a long, thin, curved nose. He will fill the earth with fairness and justice as it was filled with oppression and injustice, and he will rule the world for 7 years. Hello? You got to read the Quran and the Bible like this. It'll change your worldview. This is where I began to think, what if our Antichrist is their Mahdi? What is this? What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? I want to just very quickly, if you don't mind, go to slide 164, just quickly. No, slide 163. Before we get here, look what it says here. Fight the unbelievers around you. This is Quran 9, 1, 2, 3. Let them find harshness in you. Next slide. Quran 9, 5. Fight and kill the disbelievers wherever you find them. Take them captive. Harass them. Lie in wait and ambush them using every stratagem of war. Quran 4:95. This is why it doesn't matter if you're a conservative Muslim or not. This is why. Look what it says. Not equal are those believers who sit at home and receive no hurt, And those who strive and fight in the cause of Allah with their goods and their possessions, Allah has granted a grade higher to those who strive and fight with their goods than those who stay at home. Unto all hath Allah promised good, but those who strive and fight, he is distinguished above those who sit at home by special reward. Next slide. Look what it says. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded. Which faith beheads? Islam. Beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, which had not worshipped the beast, neither image, neither had received a mark. Look, hadn't worshipped the beast, the image, or the mark. Beast, image, mark. Three things. We're all concerned about the mark. Nobody cares about the beast or the image. Next slide, very quickly. I will cast terror into the hearts, Quran 8, verse 12, of those who disbelieve. Therefore, strike off their heads and strike off their fingertips with them. If thou comest on them in war, deal with them so as to strike fear in those who are behind them, that happily they may remember. Quran 8:57. The whole story of Islam is a story of death and terror. In case you never heard it, let me say it boldly here. Islam is a death cult. That's all it is. So Islam is for peace. No, it's a death cult. So say, holy cow. Okay, let's go back to slide 176 very quickly. Slide 176. Look what it says quickly. And he causeth both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand, on their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he have the mark or the name or the number of the beast. Mark, name, number. Three things. We're all about the mark. We forget about the name and the number. Next slide. Here is wisdom. Let him that understand count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and the number is 666. It's not 666. That's a translation. That's the number. How many can see it? Can you see it? The crossed swords. Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah. And by the way, when you go to jihad, you wear this on your forehead. This is what he saw. It was Aramaic. The Bible's written in Aramaic, not English. So we look and we go, 666. No, that's what he saw. X, Aleph, S. Look at the next slide. If one looks at the XLF symbol and turn it sideways, you see the Aramaic Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah. It's 3 U's. Next slide, let's look at it. Let's look at it again, next slide. There we go. Can you see it now? Bismillah, that's what he saw. The name of the beast. Bismillah, in the name of Allah. If that doesn't shock you, I don't know what will. Oh my Lord. When I saw that symbol, I was like, dear God. Slide 183, keep going down, just keep going, there you go. The first symbol is X, the crossing of the swords in Islam. They wear this during jihad. Next symbol is the Bismillah symbol, and the final symbol is the symbol of the serpent. Slide 191. Just going way down. See where they're wearing it? On their foreheads.
So what he's saying, and this would be progressive revelation because we're in the end times, God wants us to know now. We're all focused on 666. It never crossed my mind. That's a translation. What if it's wrong? A lot of things they translated into English just weren't what the original said. So he went and looked at the original, and what it says is in the name of Allah. So make the application. Could the Arabs' coming Messiah be the Antichrist who is going to gain power and try to force the entire world to either get it on their hand or their forehead in the name of Allah, to buy, sell, and do whatever. If you don't have that, you're going to be excluded from society. I had never heard of that before, but you know what? That makes a lot of sense. It's like, yeah, wow. Never saw that one before. He had never seen it before. Now he saw it and shown the world. That is why if, and this is how Revelation states it, if you worship the beast or the image of his name, you're lost forever. You just gave away your salvation. It's over. Why would that be? Because you allowed them to put on you, either you wear it, like he said, well, they're wearing head bandanas or headpieces with in the name of Allah on it, or you're wearing some kind of something, jewelry, wristband, whatever, that says in the name of Allah. You have to give allegiance to the Antichrist to buy, sell, and trade. The Antichrist may be Ishmael's Messiah. That's why they will fight so hard for him, because he is their Messiah. Jesus is our Messiah. They will, Battle of Armageddon, congregated Israel to destroy Israel. It's once and for all, we're going to be done with Isaac and his lineage. That's when our Messiah shows up. Says, no, we're not doing this. And the battle will be so dramatic that in the Valley of Megiddo, which is east of Jerusalem, I believe it's 14 miles, 15 miles wide, and like 50 or 60 long. You were in it? Looked at it. Of course, you're going to have dead bodies, and you're going to have machinery, and you're going to have stuff there. But it's prophesied in the Bible that the blood of that battle will come up to horse's bridle in that valley. That much blood will be shed. What's the whole thing about? Two half-brothers fighting. Abraham's oldest son and Abraham's promised son. And it's never gone away. And it will never go away until Jesus comes back and ends it. And then he sets up the millennium. And from there we go forward. That's what Hamas and Israel. You say, why do people get all up in arms when, as soon as Israel gets attacked, because everybody's saying, are we headed for World War III? Which may happen in the tribulation. We don't know if it's before the tribulation or in the tribulation, if our understanding of that is correct. But World War III is coming. Is this it? Because there's going to be a trigger between the Arabs and the Israelites that will drag the rest of the world in. And sadly, the European, like Great Britain, and her offspring, which is the United States, Western Hemisphere, will not protect Israel. All we're going to do is talk to try to stop them. We're not going to get in and according to prophecy. Right now we're still doing okay. However, poll just this week, approximately 41% of Americans now are in support of Palestine. And it's growing. So once the majority of this country is deceived into supporting Palestine, and the government says, well, we got to do what the people want, we will no longer be Israel's protector. Once that takes place, now chances are we're really getting close. Because they need us to get out of the way, because we have the capability of blowing them off the face of the earth. So we got to get out of the way. The people of the United States will make that happen. So don't tell me the officials we vote for to get into government, it doesn't matter. It matters. And here's why it matters. Here's the conclusion to the whole thing. Can you give me that last slide? Genesis 12. It's the last slide in the PowerPoint. I don't have the ability to go there, so if you could bring that up. Here's what God told Abraham. Now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of the country, he was in the Ur of Chaldees, from your family and from your father's house to a land that I will show you, promised land. I will make you a great nation, I will bless you and make you your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. So if you want to be blessed, in you, all the families of the earth, the blessing comes, which is ultimately through Jesus, the seed. If you want to be blessed, you got to bless Israel. You take a stand against Israel, God takes a stand against you. You say, why would he do that? Because Israel is a nation that is holy and set apart for one reason. They were chosen to be the nation through whom the Messiah would come. They were the nation that brought us salvation. That makes them, word holy means set apart or separate. That makes them set apart from the rest of the world. They're the only nation, and that nation started with Abraham. Now, he's in Noah's lineage and goes all the way back to Adam, but it started with Abraham. Your son will become a great nation and many nations, and through him is going to come the Messiah. Now, let's just back out and take the big picture here. That is why the devil hates Israel. They produce the one who destroyed him. Jesus. He hates him. And he doesn't really love anybody, the devil. But ladies, he hates you more than he hates men. Because of the original thing God said to Eve. To the woman, he said, your seed will crush his head. You say, well, why do the women always seem to struggle more than men? Because they're under more attack. He hates you. You know, it's a known thing that women will struggle more with keeping healthy and, I mean, all kinds of stuff. They struggle more than men. Well, they just get their act together. This has nothing to do with an act. This has to do with all of hell hates women, especially Christian and Jewish women. Now, it doesn't mean we're defeated, but just wake up. There's more guns pointed at you than me. So realize that. You got to stay dressed up for war a little better. But since Sarah shared her trip and she got caught over there, was that 10 days you were caught over there? You couldn't get out because of the war. I thought, well, this is a good morning because questions come in. And, well, what is the Hamas thing? And what is this all about? Well, let's go back and revisit it. Get everybody on the same page. And then that new piece of information, I think it was Dean that sent me that clip. And he said, what do you think of this? And I watched it and it's like, I have never heard that before. And no, I am not going to offer allegiance to the peace man of the world, the Antichrist, by saying, Allah is Lord. Allah is not going to be on my body. If that's it. But that does make a lot more sense than 666, which is the English translation. So our determination here is to bless Israel. I don't feel bad for Palestine. It's like two kids fighting over a will, you know. Mom and dad made a will, mom and dad die, and now the family's fighting. Just shut up and do what mom and dad wanted. Get over it. Well, it ain't right. Well, there's a lot of things that ain't right. We live in a fallen world because of Adam and Eve. That's not fair. Why should we have to suffer because of them? It is what it is. Just go with it and get over it. You know, we can whine and gripe about Adam and Eve the rest of our life. It changed nothing. The land was promised to Isaac. The Messiah came through Isaac. let it go. Well, we don't have any place to live. Well, look at all the other millions and millions and millions of square miles you could find a place to set up home. You say, you sound like you don't have any compassion for them at all. I want them to get saved. But get over it. And they won't. That's the thing. This will take us right to the Battle of Armageddon. But our posture is, we don't have to down-talk them, we don't have to badmouth them, we don't have to whatever. Tomi Aromi, the prophet, he brought something up. He said, a lot of Christians go around praying that Palestine would get along with Israel and this, that, and the other. He says, and he reads the scriptures. He said, that's a non-scriptural prayer. We can pray for their salvation, but they are to be dealt with severely when they touch Israel. That's what Scripture says. He says, so quit praying they get along. They're never going to get along. We can pray for their salvation, that they see the real Messiah. And if they don't want to get over it, well, you started it, we're going to finish it. That's the attitude of Israel. We'll leave you alone if you leave us alone. You start throwing missiles at us, well, we're going to come and beat you. I support that. Amen. Just came out of the woods there. I support that. Amen. I will bless Israel. And I don't want the Arabs in hell. I don't want anybody in hell. But quit fighting over the will. Let it go. Well, we're not gonna. Well, then here, take a missile, shove that down your throat, see what that feels like. You got to knock this off. Lord, we're heading toward the end here. It's on a fly. Help us to stay awake, not get deceived. Jesus, you said it over and over in Matthew 24, do not be deceived. Help us to stay awake, sharp, not deceived. And yes, we do pray for the Palestinians and the Muslims and the Arabs' salvation. We want them to come to the Messiah, the true Messiah, Jesus. But Father, we take seriously what you told Abraham, who is our spiritual father, and we are his spiritual offspring, according to the book of Romans. We will bless our father and his physical lineage, and we will stand with them because that's what you said needs to be done if we don't want to get on the wrong side of you. So we make that choice in Jesus' name. Amen. Be blessed. Have an awesome day.